Hello and welcome to the Scratch Coding class. In today's video we're going to continue with the 6-minute series and we are going to look at the sound and the events blocks. All these blocks I will cover in 6 minutes. Also we are going to look at customizing your own sounds on Scratch, so if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel and let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start in 3, 2, 1, let's go. So first we're going to create a sound from the library, of course, and we can go down here. And for today's video, I'm going to choose the bowling strike because that's going to help when we come to this stuff. And we're going to start with the sound blocks. So this block, basically it plays, if I can make it a bit bigger, that would help. It basically plays the sound once, and you can choose the sound when I click on it, it plays it once. This start sound is the exact same, plays it once. Stop all sounds, it basically just stops all the sounds that's currently playing. Moving on, we've got effects, we've got set and change. Sets it to a certain value, and change you can increase or decrease it by a certain amount. It's like adding or subtracting that number from that. And then pitch effect is basically how high or low the sound is, and then pan left right, it basically just shifts the output track left or right. And you can experiment that yourself, but we're going to move on. This block basically clears all the effects, so basically there are no more effects. And then volume is basically how loud the sound is, and set the volume to 100%. You can set it to a certain percentage. This changes it by a percentage again, adding or subtracting. And then this is the actual volume. You can see this. This is going to become incredibly useful when we move on to operators later in the series. And then now we're going to look at events. So when green flag clicked, basically when the green flag up here is clicked, it will execute all the code underneath it, and the code has to be joined to it, so this won't work. But if you put it like that, then you hear the sound. When space key press, well, it doesn't have to be the space key, it can be any key on the keyboard you want. The any is basically if you click any key, but this is just one key for all the other options, and it executes the code underneath it when the certain key is pressed. When the sprite is clicked, when you click the sprite, then it will execute the code underneath. When the backdrop switches to a certain backdrop, so basically we've looked at this in the last video, so if you haven't checked that out, make sure to do so. When the backdrop switches to a certain backdrop, then we'll execute the code underneath it, and you can use these blocks to help with that. And then moving on, we've got loudness, which is basically how I think it's to do with sound, how loud or soft the sound is, and this is greater than 10, and you can always adjust it. And then timer, we're going to cover that in another video in the series, with the sensing. So the timer just keeps ticking up and keeps going, and that just measures, and that can measure it when it's greater than a certain value. It will execute the code. Moving on, we've got messages, and to explain this a bit better, let's say we have two sprites, right? So this sprite, it can broadcast a message, and this sends a message to basically all the sprites. Let's say it sends to the second sprite, and then we got this when I receive the message. So basically, when the second sprite actually receives the message, then it'll execute all the code. So all the sprites will basically receive a message, but they won't do anything unless you use this block. And you can create your own message, new message, and then you can enter a custom name for it. Incredibly useful if you want to do lots of scripts at the exact same time. I've covered this before in the series. So moving on, we're going to look at the sounds, and we've got this bowling strike here, and we've got a bunch of different functions underneath. And then this is basically like the shape. Watch the shape if I go faster. So as you can see, there's not as many curves. It looks almost straighter. And if we go slower, back to normal, the sound goes slower, and there are more of these waves, almost like. This is the normal speed, 124 up there, and then louder and softer, basically the distance between the highest and lowest parts of the shape. So this distance right here, and the longer the distance it is, that means the sound is louder. So as you can see, that distance is quite long. If we go softer, then the distance decreases and it's not going to be as loud. And the mute, well, basically it just turns in a straight line, like so. There's no sound, it's not even a sound anymore. Fade in, Well, basically starts quiet, then it goes louder, and then to fade out, well, it starts loud and then it goes softer gradually. It's not sudden, it's just gradual. Reverse is really cool. You can change the shape completely, it's to symmetrical, and the sound is just completely reversed. And robot, which is really fun to use, it completely changes the sound and makes it sound horrible. And maybe I can demonstrate this with another sound. This a boom cloud. If we turn this into robot, well, that isn't really a boom cloud. That's just a robot doing it. And now we've got about 40 seconds left. I'm just going to recap everything. These two blocks basically plays the sound once. This block stops all the sounds that's played. These blocks use effects. You can set or change the effect by a certain value. Clears all the effects. Volume, how loud the sound is. You can set or change the volume using these blocks. Percentage. When the green flag clicks up here, executes the code. And when you click a key on the keyboard, executes the code. When you click on the sprite, executes the code. And when the backdrop switches to a certain backdrop, executes it. Loudness and timer is greater than this value, then it will execute. And messages, basically you send messages to other sprites and you can have them do scripts when they receive the message. Okay, that is everything I want to cover in the 6 minutes video for today. Thanks so much for watching it. That's all we have time for in today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you want to see more. And I will be back with another 6 minutes video later, but for now, goodbye.